Starting a bullet journal can be very intimidating. Trust me, I've been there myself. You look at other people's content and think, I will never be able to do this. But I'm here to tell you today that anyone, yes, anyone, can start a bullet journal. Today I'm going to share with you the basic methodology for bullet journaling and how you can start your own bullet journal today. Let's take a look. Hey everyone, Creatively Cara here, and my channel is all about taking you along on my creative journey through my bullet journal, artwork, and DIY. If you're new to my channel, I welcome you to join along with me on this journey and hit that subscribe button down below and also ring that bell to be notified of when my videos are posted. Also, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. The bullet journal was created by writer Cara as a way to help him organize his life and have a meaningful purpose. It is essentially a rapid logging system, so it's a way for you to plan out your life, but very quickly be able to jot down notes or tasks or anything that you want to remember or something maybe you want to look up later. It's an all-in-one kind of deal. It's pretty great. I highly recommend you check out the official bullet journal website. I will link to it in the description box down below, but it shares with you further information about what the bullet journal method is and some other really great tools and tricks. I did check out the website myself just because I really wanted to understand what the basic methodology was. If you look at Pinterest or Instagram or YouTube or anywhere at other people's bullet journals, that's where you can get scared. If you look at writer Cara's website or what I'm going to show you today in this video, you'll understand that it's a very basic method and anyone can really do this. It's just kind of where you want to take the creativity on your own. So the rest of this video is going to go over the basic supplies you'll need to start and how to set up your bullet journal, and I'll also be providing you some tips and tricks along the way. Let's start with supplies. All you need is a notebook and a pen. These can be any notebooks, whether maybe you have one lying around in your house that you've never used before, or if you want, you can head over to Walmart or some sort of store near you and buy a journal. You can also find a ton of options online. The journal I have here today is the Minimalism Art Journal. I bought it off of Amazon. It's like $10. It's dotted, a fairly decent journal for being on the cheaper end. I will link to this in the description box down below if you want to check it out. Walmart also has some really great journals as well. There is the Exceed brand. They have a whole bunch of different sizes, and I've really started to like these journals. They're cheaper, but still on the higher end of quality. I personally currently use a Dingbats notebook. These are really awesome, super great quality, but they're a little bit more on the higher end of the chain here. A Leuchtturm 1917 is actually one of the popular journals to choose. There are a ton of options out there, so I recommend just finding a journal in your house if you have one, or heading over to a store and buying a cheap one to start off with, because when I started my bullet journal, I was in a lined bullet journal that I had lying around in my house, and I really only used it for probably about a month. After I kind of understood the system, I wanted to start over. And you know what? That's completely fine if you end up doing that. So just keep that in mind. It might be easier to start off in a more cheaper basic journal and then move on to the expensive ones once you kind of have an idea of what you want to do. As for the pens, I like to use the Pilot G2 in the .05. I think that this is perfect for me. I use it every day for writing my tasks and events and all that good stuff. But again, honestly, you can just find a pen lying around in your house and use that to start. So I would recommend that. Find a journal laying around or a nice cheap one from the store and find a pen that's lying around. I know you at least have pens. Now, if you really want to, you could add in a little bit of color. I would recommend trying to keep it more on the minimalist and basic side to start off with until you feel comfortable with what you're doing. But when I started, I did want the color. So I did start off with some Stabilo fine liners. These are really great if you want to use these for a little bit of pop of color. Another good fine liner choice that I like are the Staedtler fine liners. If you're looking to add in highlighters, I mean, you can really use like the Vicks highlighters, but in the bullet journal world, there are many fancy brands. My favorite highlighter are the Zebra mild liners. These come in so many wonderful colors, and I love using them in my bullet journal. Another excellent marker choice could be Crayola Super Tips markers. I really love these, and they come in lots of different colors for a pretty good price. I will link all of those items in the description box down below in case you want to add those to your beginning bullet journal. Just remember, keep it basic and just figure out what works for you. Now we've got our supplies, let's go ahead and start making our first bullet journal. Are you ready? Let's do this. To begin your bullet journal, there are 4 collections you want to start with, and then you'll also want to include a key. Most bullet journalers who have been doing it for a while will sometimes skip the key, and I mean, you could too, I guess, but the key is nice so that you understand exactly what all the little codes mean and the signifiers, or if you're doing color coding. Again, this can get pretty in-depth, but if you start with Ryder Carroll's basic coding system, he usually uses a dot for a task. You can migrate tasks, you can cancel them, you can create an event, you can have important signifiers. The key is really important to the actual rapid logging system because that helps you make it so it's really quick. You don't have to write down appointment every time. I can just put a triangle and then write out, who it's for, whether it's me or my daughters. It helps to save time if you have that key and know what you're doing. Next is going to be the index. This is another important piece to the bullet journal because it's going to help you keep everything organized. The bullet journal system is rapid logging, so its intention is to basically use each page going. You fill out a day, maybe you want to start a collection because you want to track what books to read, or you want to make a wish list, but then you go on to the next day, the next month, add another collection in. Like, it can get a little messy. And I think that's one thing that will intimidate people as well. I know I was definitely intimidated by that because I want everything to be perfect and in order. I want all my collections to be together. I want my months to be just right after each other. So I've learned to be a little bit more relaxed on that and rely on the index to help me organize that. You'll want to reserve a few pages for your index so that it can all stay together at the front of the notebook. You'll create the index and you'll put in July, and then you'll write down what page it starts on and what page it ends on. Then I start with my wish list collection and I go, and then, oh, it's August, so August falls in after that. And then maybe you are making quotes and you have a quote on page 9, but then you also have a quote on page 20. And so you can write that, quotes 9, 20. And then you just keep adding them in so that you can find all of your quotes. Next up is going to be your future log. This is extremely important because since it's a rapid logging system and you only have 1 month set up, you're going to need to be able to record important dates or maybe some tasks that are going to happen in the next month or 2. That is where the future log comes in. You will use that future log to write down birthdays or appointments that you have in the future, or maybe there is a task, like you're going to need to make sure that you get your oil changed on this date. So that is what the future log is for. You can keep track of everything all in one place. And then once the month finally arrives, say I write a task down for August to get my oil changed in my car, I'll write it down for now, and then once we actually get to August and I set that up in my bullet journal, I will then make sure I transfer whatever's on my future log to the monthly log. So that's how that kind of works. I know that can kind of seem a little overwhelming too, but that's how you can keep your life together without having every single date planned out already, like as a predated planner would have. The standard setup for the future log is just kind of dividing the page into thirds. Some people only will put, maybe 6 months at a time. Some people like to do a year at a time. It really depends. For some people, a bullet journal can literally last them the whole year. Others, probably about 6 months. I'm probably going to be around that range. I might be able to make it to August for the whole year. So it really depends on how many pages you have and what notebook you have. Once you have your future log written out, you can jump into your first month. Please keep in mind that you do not have to start your bullet journal in January. You can literally start in any month. Where every time I changed my bullet journal, it was like halfway through the month and I just went for it. So that's okay. It's really, really okay to start whenever. To set up your monthly spread, you can easily just put a simple header, so maybe July at the top, and then you will write down 1 through 30 or 31, however many days are in the month, and then you'll write down the assigned day of the week next to it, and that's it. That's all you have to do to set up that monthly spread. Pretty simple. And I honestly love to use this basic calendar layout sometimes because it's so easy to set up. Now, how to use it is you basically just write down whatever event you have. You want to check with your future log first, move those items over, and you'll just write down the different events that are happening in that month. Sometimes I think people like to also use this as a reminder of what happened in that month. I went to the zoo on this day, even though they weren't planning on it. I don't use it like that, but some people might. Along with a monthly overview, it's actually very standard to have a monthly task list as well. It is honestly there for you to write out, obviously, any of the tasks that you need to complete during this month. And from that task list, you can migrate the tasks to the days or the weeks once you get there. Since the standard method goes by just daily, this monthly task list can be really helpful. Let's go ahead and move on to the weekly and daily layouts. So you can easily do this method, and I probably would recommend starting off with it this way, just so you can get a hang of the methodology and how it works. So just start going by day, and then you can start implementing new strategies, new templates, starting to look at what other people do and the different layouts you can do. Maybe you want to move to a weekly, or maybe you want to try dailies differently. So many ideas, but again, start simple. Let's talk about how each day really works then. First off, I would really recommend trying to designate a time during your day, either in the morning or at night, whatever time works best for you, to just sit down and go over your day of the different things that you would like to accomplish or the different events that you have going on. And start with those on your list. Then after that, as the day goes, you may add in more tasks or events, or maybe some notes, or you want to look something up. So for me, I usually use a question mark signifier for that. And then I'll know, okay, I forgot I wanted to look that question up. Great, I can do it later. I typically like to work on my bullet journal in the morning just to prep for the day. And then I also like to review it at night so that I can make sure that I've completed all my tasks or migrated or canceled them, depending on what needs to happen. Once you complete a task, you can put an X through it. Maybe you only started the task, so then you just put one line through it. Or perhaps you need to migrate your task because you didn't get to it today. That happens to me. I'll give you an example. One thing that I end up migrating a lot in my bullet journal is cleaning the cat box, because who wants to do that? I find that migrating the tasks and actually physically having to rewrite it each day helps you realize, okay, this really needs to get done. And eventually I'll end up putting like a star by cleaning the cat box, and I'll know this needs to be done today. To signify the migration, all you have to do is a greater than symbol or an arrow pointing to the right, and then you can move it down to the next day. Or you could even jump a couple days depending on where it needs to go. But usually the early migration, the right arrow, I will only do if it's going to still happen within that week. There's also the schedule for later, and the schedule for later you can do by doing the less than symbol or an arrow pointing to the left. And that usually would be maybe for a couple weeks from now or next month or something like that. You decide it was a task that didn't need to happen on that day. Well, there you have it. That's bullet journaling. That's the basic setup that you need, but there are some other things that you can add. There are other collections or mostly lists. A couple that I like to use are, movies to watch, or I have a running log, so I keep track of, my distance and how long I ran, all that kind of good stuff, just so I can kind of see how I'm progressing as I prepare for my 5K coming up this month. I also have a wish list, so the possibilities are endless. You can certainly research these on your own. Just be careful because there are a lot of different things out there, so I don't want you to get too overwhelmed by that. That is all my tips and tricks I have for setting up your very first bullet journal. A few things to keep in mind: just start. Put that pen to paper, get your bullet journal going, figure out what's gonna work for you. And then also just keep it simple to start with. It's your bullet journal. This is for you. It's not for me. It's not for your friends. It's not for your family. It's for you. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's okay. I recently made a mistake in my bullet journal and I just decided to cover it up with a Zentangle. I am so excited for you all to start your bullet journal, and I hope that this information has been helpful. If there's anything else you'd like to hear from me about bullet journaling, make sure you leave a comment down below, and I would love to make future videos about bullet journaling or questions that you may have and what I do with mine. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my video today. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well and ring that bell to be notified of when I post my next videos. Until next time, bye-bye!